Hey guys, this is Sanjay from FTC Team 7477, Super 7. Today, I'm going to be talking about linear search and how to implement it in Java. So, what is linear search? So, linear search is one of the simplest and most straightforward algorithms to find an element in an array or a list. It's not the fastest method, but it's a good starting point for learning about more basic search algorithms. So let's start with how linear search works. So in linear search, we go through each element in a list or array one by one until we either find the element we're looking for or reach the end of the array/list. This method works well for small data sets or when the data is unsorted. But anything bigger, it wouldn't really be that efficient. Now, let's start with the code. First, I'll just import this because that's what I usually do when I start any program. Now, let's start with our class name. My file is named main.java, so my class name has to match the file name. So, our class is main. Now, let's create a separate method for linear search, right? So, let's create public static because we want all the elements to be used throughout the whole class. Public static int, since it returns an int. Notice how we didn't include void because we want to return something at the end of the array, which you'll see later. Let's have our integer array, and we also take our target, which is the value that we're searching for in the array, as a parameter. So we have this now, right? Sorry. So for I equals 0, I is less than array.length, and I increments by 1 each time. So if array of I is equal to our target, then we return I. We return the index that's found, right? But let's say our program doesn't find. Let's say our program doesn't find our target, right? Then, since there's no void statement here, we have to return something. So we can just return -1. So this signifies that our target isn't found, right? Sorry. So now let's move on to our main method. Public static void main string args. So let's create a array of integers, right? So we have our array, so let's just call it array. Let's just have some numbers, right? 10, 20, 30, that's 40, and 50, right? So we have our array. Now we have to initialize our target, right? So let's set our target to be 20, right? Oh, I defined the array wrong, sorry. So let's define our target to be 20, right? So looking by it, we obviously know 20 is in the array, as you can see. But for a computer to actually figure out that it's an array, we have to run our linear search program, right? Sorry, it's not supposed to have the index. We just want to return the actual index, right? So we have a target of 20. We have our array. Next, we can just set our index, right? Int index is equal to linear search of, so it takes two parameters, array and target. Right, now we can just do our final conditional statements to actually see if we found it, right? So let's say if my index, it's not equal to -1, right? So if my result from performing linear search isn't equal to -1, we would just print using the built-in shortcut for system.out.println. We can just print our target found at index, and then we can just add our index because that's what we defined. Linear search just returns the index, so we can just concatenate our index at the end of it. But what if our element isn't found, right? Then we can just do an else statement. So we can just put an else statement, and we use the built-in shortcut for system.out.println again, and we can just simply print out target not found in the array given. I spelled some things wrong, sorry. Right? So this is our whole linear search program, right? So now let's see how linear search actually works. What does it even do? So let's say our array contains, let's say we're using same array, same target, right? Array of 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. And our target is just 20. The loop, it starts at index 0 and it checks if the element, so index 0, 10, matches our target, 20. It doesn't, so the loop moves to the next index. This is essentially what this for loop does. At index 1, it checks 20. So 20 is equal to target, so we have a match. Because of this, the loop stops and the function returns an index, which is 1. If the target, so let's say our target was 60, right? So our for loop, it would just go through the entire array, and since the target, it wasn't equal to any of the elements in the array, it would just return -1. So now let's see this in action. If I run this, right? Target not found in the array given, because 60 isn't in our array. Let's change this to 20 and see what happens. Target found at index 1. I should probably add a space. Alright, let's run it now. Target found at index 1 because Java is 0 index. So index 0 and index 1. This shows how linear search works. Now let's talk about some advantages of linear search and some disadvantages of it. So linear search, as we've seen, it's easy to implement and it works for any dataset, whether it's unsorted or sorted. However, it's not the most efficient method for large datasets because it has to individually examine each element. This gives it an inefficient time complexity of O of n, which we've discussed time complexity in some earlier videos. So if you don't fully understand it, you can go watch that. But for small arrays or quick one-off searches, it's pretty efficient. So now let's recap linear search. So to summarize, linear search scans each element in an array one by one. If it finds a match, it returns this message plus the index. If it doesn't find the match, it returns -1. So this simple algorithm, it's a really good starting point for understanding search operations such as binary search or anything else. Thank you guys for watching this Super 7 programming tutorial, and see you next time.